Now, in a sign of just how much power the Greens have over the government today, Chris Bowen was forced to admit he wants to pass that legislation for a 43% emissions reduction target by 2030, less though than the Victorian Liberals want. He said, though, he's open to a so-called ratchet mechanism. What's that mean? Well, it means that if the Greens support his legislation for the price of the Greens' vote, a ratchet mechanism could change the 43% that Labor say they want now to something much higher. We know the Greens want something with a 7 in front of it. Only this week, Bowen justified the idea.
Where a member of the crossbench, whether it be the Greens or another member of the crossbench, has a suggestion which they think improves the way the government achieves its objectives and its agenda and its mandate, I'll take that in good faith and work with that.
Let's make sense of all of this. I'm joined now by the Australian's Environment Editor, Graham Lloyd. Give us a sense how this would work. I think it's pretty risky. I mean, you get a 43% target legislated. I think that's bad enough. But it could be just wound up without coming back to the Parliament, I presume, Graham. This is a blank cheque for the Greens then, isn't it?
Well, at the moment we're seeing a sort of a blank canvas when things start, and this is how it begins. The Greens came out of the blocks last week and they said they have the balance of power in the Senate. They're going to use it. Here's 4 demands. One is that 43 is not high enough, needs to be a floor, not a ceiling. And another important one was no more gas and coal developments in Australia. So going down this road really opens the discussion on all those things. And I think the government needs to tread very warily. Tanya Plibersek was in the press club today talking about the State of Environment report, and she said Labor will keep its promise to the electorate. That was 43%. And she no doubt has the Julia Gillard experience in the back of her mind, where if you promise one thing and deliver something else, the electorate can be pretty unforgiving.
How serious is this warning from AEMA, the Australian Energy Market Operator, about the storage capacity of gas in Victoria at the big plant called Iona? They're saying it's at record low levels. It'll fall even further to sort of early August. They've put out official warnings. It's pretty bad, I presume.
Well, the whole thing looks fairly chaotic out in the energy market, doesn't it, Peter, at the moment? We're getting warnings all the time. And this is the issue. Are there supplies and reserves of whether it be coal or gas or whatever to keep things moving when it's required? Winter is always going to be the desperate time. The situation in Britain was they used their winter stocks in summer and couldn't replenish them. And I think you have to ask how those stocks have been allowed to run down to the point they are now.
Well, we know in Victoria that the Premier at least is demonising gas, no exploration, no onshore gas use, etc. But it's pretty dire. Last night I talked about the carbon credit offset schemes, lots of frauds overseas. A lot of concern though about Australia's scheme. Serious academics have called it fraudulent and sham. We've got an investigation underway, but we're talking about billions of dollars here, aren't we, Graham?
Well, we are, and this is central to any aspirations Australia might have out of turning the climate emergency into an economic opportunity. We are well suited to be a reservoir of carbon credits, of things that are locked up and stored away. And it's interesting that there's now a big debate about the quality of those offsets that are being offered. I think in fairness, there's been some complaints that have been made, and in a sense they're saying, look, there's been money paid for schemes where there was never a prospect that trees would be cut down and they're being paid to be saved, that sort of thing. Now, you can look at those and see on a merits basis there's bigger concerns about the quality of offsets and the methodologies that makes them happen. That is a disputed area. You must always keep in the back of the mind that, look, some people don't like the whole era of carbon sequestration. They really just want people to build windmills and solar panels, and that is the extent of the problem. But Australia has a lot riding on this, and I think that it's good to have an investigation, and we need to find out what the situation is.
Well, we'll stay close to you, Graham Lloyd, to help us unravel it all when that report lands from Ian Chubb. Thank you as always.